at SCS College of Pharmacy, Karnataka, member of Board of Studies for Pharmaceutical Sciences, Faculty of Technology, Devi Arya Vishwavidyalaya Indore, and also he was member of Board of Studies at GBT Bhopal in 2003. As a researcher and a scientist, he was.
मैडम शुरू में वेट फॉर कुछ थोड़े समय से शुरू करें, चलेगा क्या या कैसे करें? Of you, firstly I would like to thank Dr. Mukherjee, who has given again a chance for me to deliver the lecture in your college, in your department. My lecture is based on solubilization. Okay, and firstly let me tell you that as soon as some doubt comes to your mind or some questions come to your mind, please ask immediately. Don't wait for the end of the lecture. Today I will discuss a very new concept which I have started myself, and that concept will help you in all fields of pharmacy, not only in pharmacy, in all fields of the technologies, whether it is in dyeing industry and all that. Means for each and every, wherever the solvency is a problem, my concept will give some solution to that. Okay. So first of all, I would like to tell you what is the basis of the new concept of solubilization, which is not given in any book till now. Okay, it is given. USA has got solvent action, or in other words, we may say that each and everything has got solubilizing power. This means whether it is gas, means whether the substance is gas, solid or liquid, all things have got solvent character or solubilizing power they have. In case of liquids, all of us know from the books that whatever the liquids exist in the liquid state on the earth, they are known as solvent. But no one solvent is solvent for each and everything. In other words, we may say that there is no universal solvent. Okay? Whether it is chloroform, acetylnitrile, methanol, anything chloroform, any liquid, they are known as solvent, but they are not solvent for each and everything. So, in general, what can we say is that whatever the solvents are there, they are solvents for some and non-solvents for others. This is the generalization. For example, water. Water is solvent for about 1/3 of the drugs, which we know. 2/3 of drugs, they are water insoluble. We read from the books. Okay. Similarly, whichever is the solvent you name, they are solvent for some and non-solvent for others. Okay. Now from this we will start that. Now we have to see that how can we say that gases have got solvent character. So all of us, I think all of us, we are in teaching community, so we know that there is supercritical fluid technology. In supercritical fluid technology, what do? We use the liquefied carbon dioxide gas for dissolution of solutes, to get the nanoparticles, for the extraction of drugs from crude material, from plant sources or herbal sources. Okay, so many things are performed after dissolution of some solute in liquefied carbon dioxide gas. Of course, liquefied carbon dioxide gas is also not solvent for each and everything. We have to improve its solvent character by adding some co-solvents like say methanol, ethanol, or PGs, polyethylene glycols, propylene glycol, etc. Okay, so in short, we can say the liquefied carbon dioxide gas is solvent. Okay, but it is solvent for some and non-solvent for others. Any gas, if you liquefy, whether it is nitrogen, hydrogen, helium, etc., if you liquefy, it will be solvent for some and non-solvent for others. Okay, so but the use of gases as solvent is, you may say, troublesome and also costlier. Okay, so we will focus on the solvent character of solids in the later stage, now which we will discuss now. So gases have got solvent character, this is there. Okay, liquids have got solvent character, this is known from the books. Now I will give the means a proof for how can we say that solids have got solvent character. Okay, so now I am starting giving the proof. Okay, Acha, then how to apply this concept I will tell you later on. So forget about the use in formulation or anything, that I will tell you later on. Okay, so now I am starting giving the proof that how can we say that solids have got solvent character. Till now, of course, so many scientists, they have used solids also. They have improved the solvent character by adding solids, that is there. It is not new thing, means they have used. But no book says that each and everything has got solvent character, solubilizing power. Or no one book says that solids also have got solvent character. Once we say proof that solids have got solvent character, so many things can be performed. I will tell you the examples later on. First, again I am repeating the words that I am just giving the examples or proof how can we say that solids have got solvent character. First of all, I would give the example of some eutectics. Now see, this is the liquid. I have just brought it here just to show something. Means it is not a magic. I am not showing some magic to you, but it is a eutectic liquid. How it has been obtained? By mixing, you say, thymol and menthol in equal proportion. Suppose you take 10 gram of thymol and 10 gram of menthol and you triturate, you will get a liquid, eutectic liquid like this. And why it becomes a liquid? All of us know what are these eutectic combinations. When you see, when two substances are mixed together and if they liquefy at room temperature, we say that there is a eutectic combination. And why it happens? The reason is, menthol acts as impurity for thymol and thymol acts as impurity for menthol. Okay, both they reduce the melting point of each other and the resultant melting point goes below room temperature and hence we get a liquid like this. Okay, already their melting points are near to room temperature, means someone has got 42 degrees, someone 48 or 46 degrees like this. Hence, the resultant melting point goes below 25 degrees centigrade. So we get a liquid like this. So this is a liquid. So this consists of two things, menthol and thymol, in equal proportion, means in equal quantities. Okay. Now, what are the properties of this liquid? Now I am going to tell you this thing. You see, suppose you take a small quantity of this liquid in a test tube. Okay. And if you add few milligrams of, say, salicylic acid in this. Okay. And you shake the tube, that goes in solution. Salicylic acid goes in solution. Further, if you add again a pinch of salicylic acid, it also goes in solution. A time will come when this liquid will become saturated with respect to salicylic acid. Okay, just like water gets saturated with so many drugs and so on and so forth. Okay, like this. This means this liquid is good solvent for salicylic acid. Similarly, if you take any one of these, ibuprofen, benzoic acid, whatever, like this, they all are having good solubility in this liquid. So you may say this liquid is good solvent for these substances or you say the drugs. Okay. Now on other hand, again if you take in your test tube a small quantity of this liquid and if you add a pinch of cetronidazole or indomethacin or glibenclamide, any of these which I have performed in this study, they do not go in solution. Means they are, you may say, very partly soluble. And means this liquid is not a good solvent for those substances. Okay. This you can do in your lab also, no problem. Anything you can do in your lab. Okay. Similarly, you may increase your list by taking this drug. Some drug goes in solution, some drug do not go in solution. Means this liquid is solvent for some and non-solvent for others. We may say in short. Okay. Also, I am giving the examples of some liquids that you see these liquids are miscible with this liquid, this eutectic mixture, ethanol, propylene glycol, benzyl alcohol, etc. These means if you take this liquid and mix this, they are miscible. Means in other words, you may say soluble. Generally, the solubility word is not used with liquids. Means we say they are miscible. Okay. just like ethanol is miscible with water like this, so they are miscible, and this glycerin is immiscible in this liquid. So in nutshell, what can we say is, this liquid is solvent for some and non-solvent for others. So what does it say? This means this liquid is a solvent. And what does it contain? We know it contains menthol and thymol, which are solids. No one says them to be solvents, but they are having solvent character. This means menthol and thymol also have got solvent character. What more can we do is, now till this time we have taken the eutectic liquid at room temperature, but suppose you take thymol in your test tube, you melt it at about 46 degrees centigrade or so, 48 degrees centigrade, it will melt. You will get a clear liquid. If you add, say, these drugs, a pinch of these drugs, maybe so many drugs will go in solution and so many other drugs will not go in solution, and melted thymol or melted menthol. Okay, this means in melted state it is acting as solvent. Okay, on cooling it will solidify, that is different thing, but at that temperature that is acting as solvent. Okay, if you have any doubt, please ask. If you need any clarification, please ask. As soon as some question comes to your mind, please ask immediately. There should be interactive session, है ना? हाँ, please sir.
So, but this type of solvent cannot be used for IV administration.
This you see, at this time we are just discussing that solvent character. I will tell you how to apply in pharmacy, that I will later on I will go. After deciding that yes, solids have got solvent character, then I will go for that thing, which you are saying. Now you see some other examples of eutectic liquids. Now you see, this is another list of other eutectic combinations, okay, which I have seen. They exist in liquid state below room temperature. That's why they are liquid. Now I am telling the example here. Now I am giving example. Applicable part for chemistry in analysis. Now I am telling you how can we use it. In case of this, you see this phenol plus niacinamide. This eutectic liquid I have used for the estimation of cetronidazole tablets. How? Just like solvent, you see both are solids. Niacinamide is solvent, this phenol is also solvent. But when we get a eutectic liquid like this, that has been used as solvent for extraction of cetronidazole from tablets. Cetronidazole is highly insoluble in distilled water. Okay, you will have to take some other solvents, but I will tell you so many things which all will give you the eco-friendly methods. Okay, without the use of organic solvent or without the use of toxic organic solvent, I will tell you so many things will come in our discussion. So firstly here I am discussing the use of this eutectic liquid. What I have done, just like other use the estimation method, take 20 tablets of cetronidazole, crush them, powder them, then take equivalent of this. Okay, then means that powder will be shaken with this liquid, means eutectic liquid of phenol and niacinamide. Okay, after 10 minutes of shaking, the drug goes in solution because of the solvent character of this phenol and niacinamide. Okay, then this is diluted with distilled water to a large, means you take a large amount of water. So what happens? Phenol also goes in solution and niacinamide also goes in solution. Okay, and cetronidazole also goes in solution. And from in this way, means the detail I am not going to give at this time, but using the liquid as solvent, I have estimated cetronidazole. You can also do. So I think this is giving the example where solids are being used as solvent for the estimation of drug. Okay. So similarly, now other examples of you see, if you are interested, then I may say, you see why I have written this here. These eutectic combinations, they do not solidify in freezer, and where the ice is made now in our refrigerator. So they do not solidify, only there is increase in the viscosity. In these cases, phenol caffeine, phenol PG6000, they do not solidify in this regime, where we keep the vegetables, not freezer. So, but they get solidified in freezer. These eutectics liquids they solidify at this temperature of refrigerator. Liquids solidify in this. They solidify at this also. Okay, but if you keep them at room temperature, they will again liquefy afterwards. Yeah, ये कोई बहुत important चीज नहीं है anyway. लेकिन चलिए, now other proof I am going to give you that how can we say that solids have got solvent character. Now another example of solid is ibuprofen. Ibuprofen, all of us know there is white powder, COH group, it has acidic. Ibuprofen is acidic in nature. Okay, its melting point is 78 degrees centigrade. Okay, in test tube, if you take say powder of ibuprofen and if you heat it at 78 degrees centigrade, it will melt and you will get a liquid like this at 78 degrees centigrade, clear colorless liquid. Okay, now the properties of this melted ibuprofen. You see, if you add in test tube a small pinch of diclofenac sodium, it goes in solution. Again, if you add pinch, again it goes in solution. A time will come when this melted ibuprofen will be saturated with diclofenac sodium. One more thing, diclofenac sodium has got melting point of 283 degrees centigrade. Okay, why I am giving this melting point? Don't think that on addition of diclofenac sodium it might have been melted. It has not melted. There is no such a large suppression that diclofenac sodium will melt. No, it has not melted, but it has gone in solution. On cooling, after dissolution of diclofenac sodium in melted ibuprofen, if you cool it or if you leave it at room temperature, it will solidify. That is different thing. What I want to tell you is the melted ibuprofen is solvent for diclofenac sodium. ठीक है ना? ठंडा होने पर जम जाएगा से हमें मतलब नहीं है अभी. Melted condition में it is acting as solvent for diclofenac. Similarly, if you add in melted ibuprofen salicylic acid a pinch, which has got melting point of 159, it does not melt, it goes in solution. Salicylic acid also goes in solution in melted ibuprofen. On cooling it will solidify, that is again different thing. हमें उससे भी मतलब नहीं. Okay, please. So like this. Similarly, if you add niacinamide in this, that also goes in solution. I have given 3 examples of substances which have got means for which melted ibuprofen is solvent. Okay. Now I am again giving some other examples where those substances means which are not soluble in melted ibuprofen. So in melted ibuprofen, if you add say methenamic acid, which has got melting point of this, a pinch, it does not go in solution. Similarly, nalinic acid does not go in solution, paracetamol does not go in solution. This means melted ibuprofen is solvent for some and non-solvent for others. Also, you may increase your list. अभी हमने I have seen 6 drugs. You can see 60 drugs like this. So you may say ultimately what we got is the melted ibuprofen is solvent for some and non-solvent for others. So this also tells you that solids have got solvent character. One more thing I want to tell you here. Don't think कि melted ibuprofen, if you add say suppose say for example salicylic acid, it makes something new which has gone in solution. Don't think like that. One example, salicylic acid, it is also acid. Melted ibuprofen, that is also acid. So acid does not react with acid in such a normal conditions like. So nothing is formed, only there is dissolution. Okay, like this. Chaliye, now next we have to see that at room temperature can we see the effect of ibuprofen as for enhancement of solubility. So for that I am giving another example. So now you see this here. I have selected nalidixic acid as the model drug, and its solubility was observed in different systems like in ethanol. In ethanol or alcohol, you see the solubility is 0.198%. Means very small solubility of nalidixic acid is there in ethanol or alcohol. Okay. Now I made a 20% solution of ibuprofen in ethanol. Okay. Because ibuprofen is highly soluble in ethanol. But also don't think why 20%, why not 19%, why not 25%. You may make 25% also, you may make 15%. I made 20% just to see can it increase the solubility of some of the drugs. Okay, so for this I have made suppose a 20% ibuprofen ethanolic solution. In that, when the solubility was observed, there was 13 times enhancement in the solubility of ibuprofen. Okay. Now these studies were done by titrimetric analysis. Okay. Now the chemistry persons are also here. I am giving suppose someone says why solubility might have been increased. Number one, you may think that there may be some reaction between ibuprofen and nalidixic acid to form some new thing which has gone into solution because of high solubility. So this is not the fact. Why it is not the fact? Because one acid does not react with another acid in normal conditions. It is room temperature. Now it is not melted ibuprofen, it is room temperature. In room temperature, ethanolic solution of ibuprofen is increasing the solubility of nalidixic acid. So there is no interaction, number one. Number two, you might be thinking that you also know the role of pH. If your solution is alkaline, that increases the solubility of weakly acidic drug like nalidixic acid. It is weakly acidic drug. If your solution is alkaline, then there may be solubility enhancement. But here the solution is acidic. Ibuprofen has been dissolved in ethanol, so it is acidic, and there is no role of pH. Okay. Number three, definitely you will have to say that there should be some solvent character in ibuprofen because of which the solubility has been increased. Had there been no, you may say, the solvent character or solubilizing power in ibuprofen, there would have not been increase in the solubility of nalidixic acid. As such, it should have remained as such. Why there is an increase in the solubility? This means ibuprofen must have some solubility. So do you agree with me? If you disagree, please ask the question. So okay, so this also says that solubility has been increased because of a solid which has got solvent character. Now another solution I made in ethanol, 20% ibuprofen plus 20% benzoic acid. So total 40% strength solution was made, and that was checked for the solubility of nalidixic acid. So again the solubility was double than this. This means the benzoic acid which has come now, this also increased the solubility. Please. Okay, so here, so because of this benzoic acid, which is also a solid, and it is also acid, so no reaction, no role of pH, definitely some solvent character must be there in benzoic acid because of which the solubility has been increased. Okay, so I think you agree with me. So in this way we can again say that solids have got solvent character. One more thing I want to, I think it will come later on. I will tell you it. Of course, you see I have done so many things, but those which are important I am showing to you. I have done a lot of study in this. So you see, in case of, say for example, atenolol, 7% atenolol in ethanol, pH is alkaline, so there is high increase in the solubility. So there is role of pH here because of this alkalinity, and also because of the solvent character of atenolol. Both here, both effects are there in this case because this is alkaline material, atenolol. As soon as, say, suppose it has got 8% solubility. Okay. Suppose when you take 100 ml of this solution, when you suppose you have added 1 gram of nalidixic acid, some pH will be lower. A time will come, it will become acidic also. Then also there is enhancement in solubility, means that will be due to atenolol's solvent character. Okay. Now another example. Again, that solids have got solvent character. Here I have selected, say, furosemide drug as model drug, and its solubility was observed in ethanol. It was 1.7%. This is sparingly soluble. All of us know the words very soluble, soluble, like that. So it is sparingly soluble. Okay. Now, if you prepare a 15% niacinamide solution in ethanol, 15%. Now you can make 20% also, 10%, but I have selected 15%. Actually, niacinamide has got limited solubility in ethanol. Means when it saturates ethanol, that is about 23%. Means you cannot prepare 30% niacinamide solution in ethanol. Up to 23% nearly you can make. I made 15% just to see whether niacinamide has got solvent character for some of the drugs. Okay, so this solution I tried for the measurement of the solubility of furosemide. So there was 3 times enhancement in the solubility. This is 3 times and this. So what does it show? That the niacinamide also have got solvent character. Now again, if we see the reason why solubility has been increased, number 1, reaction between niacinamide and furosemide. Both are amide, no reaction. One more thing, furosemide is acidic drug. Though it does not have COH group, but it is acidic drug. And in IPBP, it is estimated with the help of by titrimetric estimation by 0.1 normal NaOH solution. Okay. So what I want to say you is, you see in IPBP method, they use DMF, dimethyl formamide, for the dissolution of bulk drug of furosemide. Then indicator is added and 0.1 normal NaOH is used for the titration. This is the IPBP method. Why they have used DMF, the reason is, in water it is highly insoluble. Then ethanol is a safer solvent. It is class 3 organic solvent. You might be knowing class 2, they are more toxic than this class 3. Ethanol is class 3. So it is safer type of organic solvent. So, but in that it is sparingly soluble. So because of the limited solubility, the pharmacopoeia person, they have not used it. They have gone for DMF, which is class 2 organic solvent. And class 2 organic solvent, they are toxic, we know. Okay. Now here I will give the example. Now I will give the example how to apply this concept. And the solids have got solvent. What can we do? I will tell you now the example I have given for estimation. You see this solution in which the solubility is 3 times, and this has come in soluble category. This is soluble. So what I have done, I have taken the bulk drug of furosemide, dissolved it in 15% niacinamide ethanol solution. Suppose, for example, suppose you take 100 ml of 15% niacinamide solution in ethanol. Now it is a strong solvent because of niacinamide. You have dissolved bulk drug of furosemide in this. It has gone in solution because of the solvent character of niacinamide. Okay. Then phenolphthalein was added and 0.1 normal NaOH was used for its estimation. Number 1. Whatever the reading has come, you have noted it. How many ml of NaOH solution has been consumed, like this. Then blank run is done. Again you will take 100 ml of 15% niacinamide in ethanol solution. Indicator you have added at 0.1 normal NaOH for pink color development. So maybe it's a 1 ml or half ml, whatever it comes for the pink color formation. That is noted and that reading is subtracted from the original reading. So after this blank correction, you are able to perform the titrimetric analysis of furosemide bulk drug without the use of DMF. So this is giving one of the eco-friendly method without using DMF. Just you have made ethanol a strong solvent and then you have dissolved the drug and then you have please madam.
Sir, can you repeat the titrimetric?
Please. You see, in case of IPBP method, in case, Achha, this one again, you see, what we do here means I am just, you see, I don't remember exactly means, but like what I am saying is, suppose you take 100 ml of ethanolic solution of 15% niacinamide, okay? Then you dissolve bulk drug, say suppose 100 milligram, whatever means, okay? That you can see from my research paper that I don't remember, but the principle is that you dissolve bulk drug of furosemide in this 15% niacinamide solution in ethanol. It goes in solution. Then you add, say, suppose phenolphthalein, indicator 2-3 drops. Then you perform the estimation, titrimetric estimation by 0.1 normal NaOH. As soon as pink color comes, you note down the volume of NaOH consumed. Suppose that volume is 30 ml, for example. Suppose, okay. Then in blank run, what do? You take 100 ml of again ethanolic solution of 15% niacinamide. You add 2-3 drops of phenolphthalein and you run the NaOH solution for pink color formation. So this is a blank. Okay. So you get, say, suppose 1 ml reading, for example. So that 1 ml will be subtracted from 30 ml. So 29 ml has been consumed for your furosemide. So from this you can perform the. So what can we do? In this way, you can discourage the use of class 2 organic solvent. just you should try to you will say improve the solubility of class 3 solvents, and you can use them as just like class 2 organics. I will tell you one more thing. I will tell you here. This is the tachymetric analysis. Here, eco-friendly method is there. There is no interference of niacinamide in the estimation. You have run brain. You have done performed the brain correction like that. Okay. Still, some question comes to your mind. Please ask. There is no interaction, and you can check it in your laboratories. Okay. You perform these things. Or you give this example. You say this practical to your students also. Now. Next example here again I will give you for formulation part. How you see. Now again I am giving the example how to utilize this concept. You see, when the students there, what do they suppose they use Udrazet as sustained release polymer. Okay. So what they have to do is that they have to dissolve drug, say for example furosemide. They have to make the microsphere of furosemide using Udrazet for sustained release, using this as polymer, sustained release polymer. Okay, so they have to select such an organic solvent which dissolves a drug as well as polymer. Then this solution is injected in aqueous solution of say PBA, for example 0.1% or whatever it is, to emulsify it. Homogenizing this is injected, this solution is injected. Okay, then what happens, it gets emulsified. Then the small droplets, from those small droplets the organic solvent is removed by volatilization. Okay, so what happens, lastly you get drug, say for example entered in Udrazet, microsphere you get. Okay, and of course some traces of organic solvent may be still there. Okay, because 100% removal of organic solvent is quite difficult, we may say like this. Okay, so what now I want to say to you. Suppose you give some project to some M.Pharm student that you prepare microsphere of furosemide drug using Udrazet as sustained release polymer like that. So what they will see, student will see, suppose firstly they tried ethanol. So he will see, means the student will see that there is a limited solubility of furosemide in ethanol, so he will remove ethanol. Okay, then he will use some other solvents which may be toxic, dichloromethane, etc., methanol, or mixture of those or whatever. Then he will dissolve Udrazet and then he will perform the microsphere formation. But suppose a student knows that solids also have got, each and everything has got solvent character. So whatever the Udrazet polymer he is going to use, maybe that after dissolution of that Udrazet, maybe that furosemide solubility is increased, and it happens. I will show you in my next slide that there is increase in the solubility of furosemide in presence of Udrazet. Okay, and also there is solubility improvement because of niacinamide. So what a student can do? A student can take firstly ethanol, then he will dissolve firstly the Udrazet, then some niacinamide may also be added to improve the solubility, then he will add furosemide to dissolve it. Okay, so he will get a clear solution because of the solvent character of niacinamide as well as the Udrazet. Okay, then this solution will be injected in aqueous solution of PBA, and the droplets will be, and you say the ethanol will be removed from the droplets, and Udrazet will enter the furosemide drug. Okay, so in this way, what is the advantage by doing in this way? The advantage is, let's say even in a small concentration, ethanol remains in your microsphere, it is not toxic. It is not toxic. Most of the niacinamide goes in solution because it is water soluble. Even if some traces of niacinamide remain in your microsphere, they are not toxic like this. So in this way, again, this is the eco-friendly method, and this is one of the application of this thing, that solids have got solvent character. And of course, all of you should remember that solids have got solvent character. This thing, if you will keep in mind, so many things will be done later on. Again I am coming to that part, that how to apply after knowing that solids also have got solvent character, how to utilize this concept. Now these are some other examples. Okay, now one more example I will give you for showing that solids have got solvent character. Again, this is an example. You see, All of us have read in B.Pharm first year phenol water system, and some of you might be teaching also, I think maybe. So what is this phenol water system? We know that if you prepare up to 8% solution, if you prepare in water, that is clear solution. Above 70% also you get clear solution, but in between it is turbid. Means, for example, you cannot prepare 25% or 30% phenol solution in water clear. They are not clear, they are turbid. Okay. Now what we are doing now is we are preparing two solutions, and you will answer that solids have got solvent character. Now I will be giving this exercise to you, that you will reply that solids have got solvent character. How? Now you see. Please, all of you listen here carefully. Now see, suppose we take 5 gram of phenol. Okay, it is solid. We know it is solid. Dissolve in 95 gram of water, you will get a clear solution. It is a clear solution. Okay. Now on the other hand, you take 95 gram phenol and dissolve 5 gram of water in this. Means first you take 95 gram of phenol, you may melt them, melt it. Its melting point is about 44 degrees centigrade or something like that. So melted phenol plus 5 means 95 gram of melted phenol plus 5 gram of water is also a clear solution. Okay, it is also a clear solution. Now you see in previous solution where 5 gram phenol and 95 gram water, which one is solute and which one is solvent? We will say here phenol is solute and water is solvent. Okay, definitely you will answer this. In a small quantity, जो भी चीज है that is solute. Okay. Now in other case, 95 gram phenol and 5 gram water. Here you may not say water is solvent. You will have to say that phenol is solvent and this is solute. So you yourself is saying that phenol is solvent here. बोल रहे हैं ना आप? नहीं बोल रहे हो तो बताइए, तो मैं बोल पाऊंगा. Like. So anyway, so in this way, this also gives a proof. One more thing. Sometimes the persons they ask, how can you say that solids have got solvent character? Yeah, what is the mechanism of this? So what I say is, you see, actually what is the mechanism of solubilization? Most of us we know. It is either hydrogen bonding, weak bond, one forces, etc. They are used for the dissolution of some solubility in a solvent like this. So the similar thing is here. You see, whatever the mechanism is applied is here, the same mechanism is here also. So there is no difference in the mechanisms. So don't think for means I am not saying that you don't find out the mechanism, but there is no need. I say there is no need. Just you apply it. आप apply करिए उसको. इस पर मत जाओ जिसकी क्या mechanism है. छोड़िए उसको. आप तो काम करिए आपका. Now I will tell you one more thing. You see, what I have done is in Soxalate apparatus. Firstly, I tried menthol. Just to see can it run the Soxalate apparatus, Soxalate siphoning and all that. So in case of menthol in round bottom flask, when heating was started, it started boiling, menthol. But it did not go, means vapors did not go from the siphon tube. They were immediately condensed there only. They could not be able to go in the siphon tube. Then I tried thiamol. Then in the same case. But then I thought, let me try phenol also. So when I tried phenol, so in that case it was boiling vigorously and the vapors went from the side tube. They were condensed in the chamber, condensed means extraction chamber, and they liquefied. And then what I did, just to see or just to say the phenol is solvent, I used turmeric powder in a cloth, a portly banana, then that was kept in the extraction chamber. Phenol vapors went from this, condensed, and after extraction, siphoning was there. Again, another cycle like this. So that liquefied phenol has extracted the active constituents from turmeric powder and brought here. Now this solution, again, now this extract, the phenol will be removed from this by vacuum distillation and you will get the extract. Though I am not telling you exactly the method of extraction of turmeric powder, but my mean is that if someone asks you that from which things Soxalate apparatus is run, so you will say solvent. So once you are using phenol for extraction, this means phenol is also solvent. Okay, like this. Then of course I used just to see the extraction of say fish dye from peanut powder, fish, like that. Of course, that is costlier process. But one thing I will tell you, if there are pharmacognosic persons here, they may use phenol for. Don't use oxidation. You may use maceration also. At 50 degrees centigrade, if you keep crude, you may say the powder of the herbal powder, you keep with phenol and keep that bottle or container at say 50 degrees centigrade with occasional shaking. It will extract nitric constituents. Then you may remove it by filtration, and then by phenol removal can be done by vacuum distillation, like that. Phenol is very good solvent, I will tell you. Of course, its use is should be done carefully because it is corrosive. We all of us, just like H2SO4, we have to just like that. You will have to be careful using the phenol. It is corrosive, but I am telling you, means the persons may use phenol as it is very good solvent for. So you may increase the yield. But I will tell you so many things, but phenol is also one of the good solvent, I will tell you, which I got. Okay, it is very good solvent. Even I will tell you, you see the milk. I am not giving the example, means fruit, you will say the usable example is not, it is not, means that what I want to say, if you take milk and you add phenol in that, you will get a clear solution. Means oil, means ghee, also goes in solution. Each and everything goes in solution in phenol. Phenol is very good solvent. What we will do for this I am not saying, just I am telling you, it is very good solvent. Anyway, chali now later on, knowing that each and everything means, particularly I am focusing on the solvent action of solids, because they will be very useful in our formulation part, whether in formulation of you will say the preparations or in estimations, they will be very useful. Now you see, after knowing that solids also have got solvent character, what can we do? Or what better can be done? Now I am giving some example to you. Now, they are again, you may say, what I say, just they are the examples. I am not saying they should be marketed like this. What I wanted to say you is, you see, the new concept, the name of new concept I have kept is mixed solvency concept. Mixed solvency concept. It means you mix the things in a desired concentration and you take its use as solvent. Okay, do one thing. First you listen this thing, then it will become more clear to explain. So you see, what I try to do is that you forget about that this substance is say surfactant, this is liquid or solvent, this is solid, this is cyclodextrin, this is hydrotrophic agent. Like you forget about all these things. You forget these words from your mind. Okay, just you see each and everything has got solvent character. So we have to use the excipients which are inert in nature. They will be used for the formulations. The example I will now start giving the examples how to apply this concept. First we will see the effect of mixing so many types of things, whether they have got solvent action or not. So firstly what I have done is, I have selected ibuprofen as model drug, okay, and its solubility was observed in so many systems, like say in distilled water its solubility was this much, means it is very small, its solubility is very small in distilled water, it is highly insoluble in water, ibuprofen, okay, and all these studies, solubility studies have been done by tachymetric analysis. Taking all the means you will say that carrying out all the blend determinations. So this thing should be clear to you. Blend determinations were done to neutralize the effect of the additive used. Okay, so like that. See for example, what I have selected, a particular concentration I have selected 40%, 40%. Don't say why not 35, why not 45, like just I have selected just to see effect on solubility. Okay, so 40% aqueous solution of PG 400, which is a liquid. So this solution, the solubility in this solution was this much. These all are the percentage solubility. 40% sodium citrate here like this, glycerin. So means you may say some are liquid Some are solids like sodium citrate, Ag4000. These are solids. This is solid. This is liquid like this. So liquids and solids means these excipients. You may say I have used. I have prepared their 40% solutions in water, and then they were tried for solubility determination. So these were the solubilities which I have observed by doing the experiment. Now, then I made the blends to see what is the effect on solubility if we mix the different additives. You see, so first blend is this one, glycerine. GL means glycerine 10%, propylene glycol 10%, PG6000 10%, urea 10%. So total became 10, 10, 10, 10, 40%. So again 40% strength was kept constant. Okay, and this solution was observed for the solubility of your ibuprofen. So the observed solubility was this one by tachymetric method. Again I am repeating the word after correction, blend correction and all that. This was the solubility observed. Okay. Now one word is contributory solubility. This is the contributory solubility, and what is this contributory solubility? This is the rough method. This is not exact. Okay, approximation it is. How approximation? You see, since you have added glycerine 10%, so we will see the solubility of ibuprofen in 40% glycerine divided by 4. Means taking that 1/4 effect on solubility like that. Similarly, 1/4 of propylene glycol, 1/4 of this 6000 Pg, or 1/4 of this. Okay, then they were added. So we got this thing. So this is the, you may say this is numerical, just like this. Okay, but approximate. It is not exact method. Means this much we expect. ऐसे होना चाहिए, something like this. So this solubility is nearly the same. Nearly same. You see the second blend. Glycerine 10%, 4000 Pg, 10%, 300 Pg, 10%, urea 10%. This again 40% solution. The solubility observed was 0.425%, but the expected, again the contributed 1/4, 1/4, 1/4, 1/4. Total is this one. So this solubility is less than this. Means any of the material might have done anti-solvent action. So because of that, the solubility was decreased. But you see now the third one. Pg400, Pg4000, urea, sodium citrate. 400. This is liquid. These three are 4000. These three are solid. Like means this one. In this case, also means the calculated solubility was this, but observed solubility was more. About 2.5 times solubility enhancement was there. So by adding these things in small concentration, you can get synergistic solvent action. Okay. So how will it help you? Means this shows that by you see actually why I have made this blend. The reason is, you see, in our with the industries, what is the problem? They have got limited number of safe solvents like water, ethanol, you say tweens, propylene glycol, PG 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 7, like this. They are liquids. Okay, sometimes they will mix it 2, 3 like that. So they see the solubility this way. So they are handicapped in most of the cases. Why? Because they cannot use methanol, chloroform. They cannot use. They are, so like this, the safe solvents are very limited. Okay. Now, then the problem comes. Suppose any solvent they take in large concentration for solubility achievement. Then, in addition to drug, that solvent also goes that may be toxic like that. So how this toxicity problem can be solved? The solubility problem can be solved by mixing the things and achieving, suppose, the same solubility. So the toxic level can be minimized by mixing the additives. Okay, so in this way I try to see, suppose we mix the things in small concentration, can they give the same solubility like this? So in most of the cases you find the synergistic solvent action. So for the same solubility you will have to reduce the concentration of the additives, or you may say the solubilizers. So you see, so in so many cases you will get synergistic action, but here till this time there is no calculation that you mix this you will get this solubility. Not like that. Just trial and error you will have to perform, then you will get the solubility. You see, in this case also there is synergistic solvent action. Here also some synergistic solvent action. Here nearly the same solubility. Again, if you see here also some synergistic solvent. So these blends were tried for this. So okay, so this says that you just now what can we do is, now I am giving another example. Very carefully. So now you see. Now this I am giving the example of an injection. Suppose we have to develop aqueous injection of drug, and a student or you have got say suppose 10 water insoluble drug, you want to make its aqueous solution. Okay. So what can we do is, now after knowing that each and everything has got solvent character, you should see to the excipients, because excipients can also show the solvent action for your drug. So I am giving one example. In aqueous injections, whatever the additive I am telling you, these all are safe. Means if you use these concentrations, say suppose for example 5% sodium benzoate plus benzoic acid mixture is used as buffering agent. These are given in your book also or in your journals, you can find out. This means 5% sodium benzoic acid mixture is safe in your aqueous injection. So it is a safe additive. Okay. Now 5% lignocaine hydrochloride is used as local anesthetic to reduce the pain of injection. So here this lignocaine hydrochloride is also safe, and it is additive. It is not main drug. Main drug is someone else. On injection it reduces pain. So to reduce that pain, they have added lignocaine in that. Okay, so this is additive here. Okay, and on it is safe. Now 4% benzyl alcohol as preservative is used on local anesthetic in aqueous injection. Means it is also safe. 2.5% niacinamide is stabilizer. Lackman book में अगर आप देखें you will get it. Okay, 5% alcohol. Though 10% ethanol, 15% can also be used in aqueous injections, but it is it causes irritation. It causes irritation. That's why I am saying 5% ethanol. If you will keep your say blend, no harm. Okay. Now similarly 5% propylene glycol, though you can use 40%, 60%, 80% pure propylene, but 5% by taking 5% there is no harm. Okay. Similarly 5% PVP, polyvinyl pyrrolidone. If you add in your formulation, there is no problem in aqueous injection. Similarly, any twin 5%, HB beta cyclodextrin 5%. These are PGs, liquids. These are solid. Means I have given you a list of safe additives which are employed in aqueous injection. You are not supposed to take all the additives. No, you select suppose any five. So 5%, 5%, 5%, 5%, total 25% strength blend has been formulated. Okay, and
sir, is they act as preservative?
Which one? No, you see, I am telling you. Preservative or also benzyl alcohol. Say for example, benzyl alcohol is used as preservative here. You see, and this is also of course a preservative, but it is being used here as buffering agent, though it is also a preservative. Okay, and this is also preservative. Ethanol in 5% concentration it is not preservative. Of course, in 10% it is preservative. Anyway, so but we are using them as excipient. Now, what I want to say you is, sorry. Now, you take any 5 things, you have made a 25% strength soluble blend, and that blend will be tried with your 10 insoluble drug or 20, whatever you are having. Suppose 1 or 2 drug have got good solubility in that blend, you can use them in your aqueous injection. Of course, toxicological studies and stability studies, they all will be performed. In most of the cases, you will find them to be good, whether it is chemical stability or pharmacological action. They will not be toxic. This I am telling to you. When you will observe them, you will not find. Okay, now what? So in this way, this is one blend. Now you, out of those 5 things, you remove one, you add another. New blend has been found. By permutation combination, a large number of solvent systems can be developed. Okay, which this is very useful for the industry persons. If they know that each and everything has got solvent character, now previously they were trying only the liquid, 5, 6 safe liquid. But now if they know this thing, so they will start using these solids also, because they also have got solvent character. So in this way, you may say, okay, and it is not needed that all the things you will take 5%. Something may be 10%, something may be 2%, something may be 3%, like this. And the industry person, they know that in how much concentration if you apply these things, they will be safe and like this. So in this way, innumerable solvent systems can be developed by mixing the additives. Okay, this was the case for aqueous injection. Similarly, you can use in your syrups also, like this. Okay. Now another thing. Suppose you want to develop some oil injection. So you think such additives which are soluble in oil, they can increase the solubility of your drug. Suppose your drug has got limited solubility. Okay. So what you can do, say for example, BHA is oil soluble, BHT is soluble, gallic acid or pyrogalol or your this vanillin, whatever. But thinking their safety consideration, then you have to dissolve in 5%, 7%, 10% like this. Don't think for 1%, 2%, they are not going to give such a significant solubility enhancement, but at least 4%, 5%, 10%. And by taking the blend of 2, 3, 4, that will be more helpful. That will solve the problem of toxicity. Okay, instead of taking one thing in 25% or 20% concentration, you use so many additives in small concentration. So like this, so the oil solubility can also be improved. I will show you the slide afterwards. Number one. Number two, I want to tell you one more thing here. Now, after knowing this thing, these solids also have got solubility character. Each and everything has got solubility character. By mixing of these, they will also give some additive solvent action or synergistic solvent action. Okay. Now, this thing can be proved. Suppose someone asks you some mechanism of mixed solvency concept. I will give you very nice example. मैडम एक बहुत अच्छे एग्जाम्पल बता रहा हूँ कि जैसे जो whatever the fixed ions are there, they are also known as solvents. Okay, but fixed ions are not single entity chemically. Whatever the ion आप लो. Say for example, I am giving one example of peanut oil, मूंगफली का तेल जो होता है, RHS oil, which is known as. Now from Merck Index I got this list that there are various glycerides of various acids like stearic acid this much %, palmitic acid this much, like this. So in this is the approximate composition of some peanut oil, of course, but there is difference in this composition depending on the source. कहाँ पे south में culture हो रहा है या north, like that. Okay, so there may be variation in the composition, but what I want to say you, there are a large number of glycerides present in your RHS oil or peanut oil. Okay. For example, you see, glycerol has got 3 OH groups, so there will be monoglyceride, diglyceride, triglyceride. Okay. Then, for example, there will be glyceryl monostearate, glyceryl distearate, glyceryl tristearate, like this. So similarly with all these, so many glycerides are there, 15, 20, I don't know. Okay, a lot. But now, out of those 15, 20, whatever the glycerides are there, in those glycerides, some are solid and some are liquid. I will give you examples of 4 glycerides. Glyceryl monostearate, it is a waxy solid of melting point 63 to 68 degrees centigrade. Okay. Glyceryl tripalmitate is solid having melting point of this 66 degrees centigrade. Glyceryl monoiodate is solid having melting point 25 degrees centigrade. Glyceryl triiodate, a yellowish oily liquid. Okay. Now, so just like this, some are liquid and some are solid, like this. So your peanut oil is a combination of so many glycerides, of which some are solid, some are liquid. And if you vary the composition, the solvent character of this oil is changed. Suppose you dissolve, say for example, stearic acid 2% more in your oil, it will go in solution. It will differ the solubility of your drug. Means in this, you may understand in this way. Suppose you add, say, more of this glyceryl monostearate, more 2%, 5%. Again, you are adding more. There will be difference in the solubility. Means the solubility in peanut oil is the result of the solvent character of different glycerides. Okay. So this means now here you see that there are solids also and liquids also. It is not single entity. You are saying it is a solvent. This means whatever the solids are there, they are also solvent, and they have effect on the solubility. So this is also one example of mixed solvency character. Okay. Next example. Now you see this section. Of course, one thing you listen it carefully. This is not to be marketed. This is just for understanding the mechanism. You may say the application of mixed solvency concept. Means you are these all things. You may say this is not a safe injection. Okay. But what I want to tell you first, you understand it. Then I will tell you. You see. Aceclofenac is highly insoluble in water, so water is not a solvent for aceclofenac. Okay. Now, suppose you mix 500 milligram sodium benzoate, 500 milligram urea, they all are solid. 500 milligram sodium citrate, 500 milligram niacinamide, 500 milligram PVP A19. They all have been passed through a fine sieve to get fine powder. So 500 means total became 2.5 gram of this blend. So these all are additive, you may say. Of course, I am not saying this is a safe injection, but what I want to say you that suppose you mix these 5 powders, then you add 200 milligram of aceclofenac, which has been passed through a fine sieve. So total became 2.7 gram powder blend, and this blend has been kept in a 10 ml vial. And in 10 ml vial, you have put you may say. What we can miss for 10 ml you have made a mark, and 10 ml vial you have made a mark on 10 for 10 ml. Now then when you will add water and you try to reconstitute it to make 10 ml, you will get a very clear solution. Very clear solution. Why it make a solution? All are solids. All 5 are solids. And of course there is no reaction. Don't think about this reaction ki kuch ban gaya hoga, not like this. There is nothing to react here, you see. The aceclofenac will not react with this, will not react with this, not react with nothing. There is no reaction. It goes in solution because of the solvent character of these solids. Okay. So this is one example, you see. Now, what can we do after knowing this thing? Water is not solvent for aceclofenac, but when these 5 things are dissolved in water, a strong solvent character develops, and because of it, the aceclofenac goes in solution. Okay. Now, based on this, now this is not to be marketed. This I have told you, but based on this, the industry persons, they may work out for their different additives which are solid, which can be safely used. So what can be done in this way? The lyophilization stage can be removed, can be replaced by such treatment. You just take the pyrogen-free constituent, these are additives, pyrogen-free and micro-free additives, and aseptically you make them just like aseptic handling. So you can make a dry injection instead of running the lyophilization, which is costly a process, time-consuming process. You can, means the industries can adopt such a procedure after knowing that solids have got solvent character. So this gives very good example of that, the fact that solids have got solvent character. So in this way, you see, whatever the additives I was having, so I have made its solution in this way, but industry person, they have got so many additives which we do not have. So like this, on using this, just you have to fill them. There is no need of lyophilization. Of course, micronization will have to be done so that it will be easily reconstituted like this within short period of time like this. Any question, please? Now another example. Now I want to show you that means firstly you listen. Any weaker solvent can be made a strong solvent by proper choice of solubilizers. Any. Suppose you want to develop, say, oil injection. Now here again, this is you may say this is model drug here. It is not going to be injected. First, you please listen it. It is not going to be injected, but I want to show some principle that if you take these things, you can improve the solubility of say drug. For example, here rifampicin is the model drug. Its solubility is limited in castor oil. I have selected castor oil as model oil and rifampicin as model drug. Then what I did is addition of benzyl alcohol in castor oil increase the solubility of rifampicin. And this is not using because benzyl alcohol we know that this is solvent also. So okay, it is okay. That increases the solubility. Addition of menthol. If you add say 5% menthol, 10% menthol, thymon, camphor, they also increase the solubility of terpentine. We are not going to use them in injection. Means just means as model. Means these solids are in when they come in the solution in oil, then they improve the solubility of your drug. They are solids. No one says them to be solvent. Similarly, the vanillin, PDP, they are also oil soluble. They can also improve the solubility of your drug like this. BHA, BST. So now, after knowing this thing, what can the industry persons do is, they will select such additives which are soluble in phase diol, and they can improve by adding those also. Of course, they may use vanillin alcohol in little quantity, all that, but solids can also be employed like this. Okay, so in this way, the oil solvent character can be improved by proper choice of solubilizers. Okay, suppose you have got, say, propylene, means you want to increase the solubility of your drug in propylene glycol. You think such additives which are soluble in propylene, that I will show you afterward. You see, this is for microsphere. Now, see one thing here. Now, this is the work of Mr. Vikram Karvande, one of the MPharm student in my college. Okay, ethyl acetate, a class 3 organic solvent was knowingly selected, and its solubility character was enhanced by dissolution of some additives like this. So okay, so this otherwise furosemide has got limited solubility in ethyl acetate. We cannot make its microspheres using U-Dragon. So what is done? Ethyl acetate. In ethyl acetate, the comparison of the solubility of furosemide in different solutions is there. You see, in ethyl acetate, the solubility is not 1, means just this is the ratio. Means there is 2.5 times enhancement in solubility of furosemide in ethyl acetate in presence of 20% camphor. Again, these are all means these are not going to be used means practically, but just to show the principle. 10% camphor, there is a small increase in the solubility. Pg200, it is liquid. Of course, there is solubility enhancement 7 times. 10% PG to about 3 times solubility enhancement. Now you see for menthol 20%, 3 times solubility enhancement. Menthol this like this. Now you can see vanillin this much. Vanillin is also soluble in ethyl acetate. It increases the solubility about 3 times. Now you see the Udrazate RSPO. 20%, if we dissolve in ethyl acetate, there is 5 times enhancement in the solubility, which I told you in earlier case when I give the example of microsphere. There is enhancement because of this Udrazate RSPO also, which is solid at room temperature. So means you have to think that each and everything has got solubility character. So knowing this, the student first will dissolve this in ethyl acetate, then he will dissolve the drug like that. Okay. Now this is the procedure. Of course, we need not go for procedure. Okay. Now, similarly, in the self-emulsifying drug delivery system, this concept has been utilized. And one more thing I will tell you, that you see, so much work has been done in our college. So I have got different theses, MPharm theses. Suppose even if there is some need, I think this should, I should not say here, I think anyway, but I will tell you later on because this work is going on. So anyway, means there are theses available for so many these drugs, and they can be utilized by so many students, teachers, etc. Okay, and of course, one thing I want to tell you on this platform, that seeing this video, if some industry persons they want, I can deliver the lecture in the industries. I have delivered my lectures in some industries also, Alchem Laboratories, Mumbai. Recently, I have given the lecture there. In Elder India also, I have given the lecture. Similarly, I have given for the Reddy's in Hyderabad, I have given the lecture there also. And I want to deliver the lecture for the industry persons. So, if some industries they are they are interested, they can keep my lecture. I can deliver the lecture because this concept can be promoted when the industry persons they come to know all these things. They will have definitely they can promote this concept to a large extent, because in theses we will do the work and thesis have gone there. But the industry person definitely they can use. They can start from topical formulations. Suppose they say we cannot use this for foreign, for export and all that. In domestic formulations they can adopt. Similarly, for foreign, for the export, they can develop this. Means they can utilize this concept for developing the topical solutions and ER solutions. So many things. They can start just. There may be start, and then afterwards, when this is matured, then of course they can go for so many things like that. Okay. Now here, what I wanted to tell you is now here the M.Pharm student, Mr. Chandan Chandana, selected this drug. Candicertan selects it. Okay. Its solubility was observed in different co-surfactants. First of all, let me tell you, means in self-emulsifying drug delivery system, the drug loading may be improved by mixed solvency concept, and co-surfactant level can be minimized by using this mixed solvency concept. So based on this M.Pharm thesis is based on this only. Now what the student has done, he has determined the solubility of this drug in different co-surfactants. Then knowingly he took this ethanol as the co-surfactant, and then different solutions were made in ethanol to observe the solubility. So in ethanol, when we take 30% menthol, you see now the difference in the solubility, about 6 times solubility enhancement is there. Similarly, if you take 60%, of course, these are for principle, means we want to get it clarified that even the solids can improve the solubility and they can be used as co-surfactant. Okay, now you see here the difference in the solubility, so much difference in vanillin. This also increases the solubility. Now we see further the combinations of these. You see the solubilizers in short, we can say camphor plus vanillin 20:20 ratio. There is solubility enhancement. Now you see here 265, then 210, 303. If you mix camphor, vanillin, Lutral in 20:20 ratio, there is tremendous enlargement. So in this way, by mixing the things in small concentrations, the toxicity problem can be solved and drug loading can be improved and co-surfactant or surfactant level can be minimized. So the details are there in the thesis. Okay. If you have any doubt or any question, please ask. Now again, some other examples of mixed solvency concept. I told you that any solvent can be made a strong solvent by proper choice of solubilizer. Suppose, means I have given project to the M.Pharm students, means propylene glycol was the base. This means we have selected such a drug which has got less solubility in propylene glycol. Then we dissolved some of the additives in propylene glycol to see the effect on the solubility. So what was done? Lalita Gore, this is work of Lalita Gore. Naproxen was the model drug and propylene glycol was the solvent which was having poor solubility for naproxen. Only 0.402% was the solubility. Now, she made a large number of blends, but out of those 2 blends we will discuss here. One of the blend was containing 5% sodium benzoate. This is soluble, means up to this extent it is soluble in propylene glycol. 5% benzoic acid, it goes in solution in propylene glycol. Niacinamide 5%, PVP 40,000 5%. So total became 20% strength. In this 20% solution in propylene glycol, the solubility was about 12 times. This was the solubility achieved. Previously the solubility was this and achieved solubility was this. You see, this was the solubility in propylene glycol and this is the solubility in this blend. Okay, again you see, if these all are safe, sodium benzoate 5% is safe. Benzoic acid 5% it is safe, niacinamide 5% safe, PVP 5% safe. Okay, so what can be done here? You see, if not injection, if you do not want to make injection taking the toxicity, forget about that. You can develop the ear drops or topical solutions. You see here, propylene glycol based topical solution can be made. You dissolve these things, you dissolve naproxen in the desired concentration, that can be applied here. There is no harm. Or ear preparations may be, then it can be used like this. So anyway, means this is one example again where the solvent action of propylene glycol was improved because of these additives. These all are solids, okay? And again, if you see the reaction, so there is no reaction. Naproxen, then you get no reaction like this. Just there is increase in the solubility. This is another blend which she has made. Here the total concentration is 15%. Previously it was 20%. She has used here 2% sodium benzoate, 5% benzoic acid, 5% diazepamide, 3%. This 15% solution gave again about 11 times solubility enhancement for naproxen like this. Okay. And of course, you see in most of the cases you will find safe, means them to be safe and stable foundations. Okay, like this. Now, after coming to this, so this was mixed solvency concept. Okay. Now I am coming to the hydrotropic solubilization, which is also important, and I would like to tell you that how I came to this concept, mixed solvency concept. I worked on hydrotropy. A tremendous work was done by me. My you will say the topic of my PhD research was based on hydrotropic solubilization. So and I of course completed my PhD in 2008. It was awarded in 2008. Recently, you will say. So working on hydrotropy, I got so many things. So hydrotropy is also very important. Okay. So I would like to explain you what is hydrotropy and its practical applications, which have not been done in. You see, hydrotropy is not new concept. It is 100 years old concept, but its applications, which I have started, they are new. For example, applications in case of estimation, tridimetric estimation, spectrophotometric estimation, PLC, etc. Those I will discuss here. So firstly, what is hydrotropic solubilization? I would like to explain that thing to you. Then we shall discuss its application. So here, this is a part of the, means some of the hydrotropic agents. This is not a complete list of hydrotropic agents. These are mostly the hydrotropic agents. They are mostly the solids, highly water soluble solids. The nature of hydrotropic agents is they are highly water soluble solids mostly. Okay. Now, so this is a part of the list. Okay. Now, suppose we take an example of say sodium benzoate firstly. Okay. Suppose you see this sodium benzoate is highly soluble in water. Suppose we prepare 30% aqueous solution of sodium benzoate in distilled water. Okay, so we have got a 30% aqueous solution of sodium benzoate with us. Now this solution has got property that this increases the solubility of a large number of poorly water soluble drugs. Large number. Say for example, now I am naming the poorly water soluble drugs. Say for example, tinidazole, metronidazole, gatifloxacin, ornidazole, naproxen, ibuprofen, ibuprofen, flurbiprofen, hydrochlorothiazide, indomethacin, paracetamol, diclofenac sodium. So many poorly water soluble drugs, their solubility is improved in say 30% solution of sodium benzoate solution. These are examples of hydrotropic solubilization. Okay. These are few examples of hydrotropic solubilization. Just like this, suppose you take sodium citrate in your lab. In your lab means wherever you are there in college, sodium citrate is available in all lab. You see, and salicylic acid is also available in all the colleges. The solubility of salicylic acid in distilled water is about 0.2%, 0.3% nearly. Distilled water, in distilled water. But suppose you take 45% of sodium citrate solution, it is highly water soluble, so you can prepare easily the 45% solution of sodium citrate in distilled water. And in this solution, when you will see the solubility of salicylic acid, that is more than 15%, more than 15% solubility. You will say more than 50 times solubility enhancement is there because of the large concentration of sodium citrate. This is one of the hydrotropic agents. Okay, so this is also example of hydrotropic solubilization. Another example, suppose you take a 30% solution of urea in distilled water. This increases the solubility of paracetamol, diclofenac sodium, tindazole, like this. If you prepare, say for example, 40%, 30% solution of niacinamide in distilled water, this also increases the solubility of a large number of poorly water soluble. So these all are examples of hydrotropic solubilization. Now how can we define the hydrotropic solubilization now? When there is enhancement in aqueous solubility of a poorly water soluble drug in the presence of a large concentration of an additive means hydrotropic, then we call this phenomena to be hydrotropic solubilization phenomena. Again I am repeating, when there is enhancement in aqueous solubility of a poorly water soluble drug in the presence of a large concentration of an additive, then we call this phenomena to be hydrotropic solubilization phenomena. Whenever we prepared the solution, we prepared the solution concentrated 30%, 20%, 25%, 40%. They increase the solubility of poorly water soluble drug. This is hydrotropic solubilization. And about the mechanism, whatever the person they say till now, 100 years have gone, till now means if you will read from the literature survey, you will find different mechanisms are told in the papers. They say that the hydrotropic solubilization may be another type of, you may say another type of co-solvency. Another type of co-solvency means, for example, first we should know what is co-solvency. Ethanol if you add in water, and if you see the solubility of volatile oils or say camphor or volatile substances, they increase the solubility. So you prepare the tinctures. This co-solvency means, suppose you take 45% ethanol remaining distilled water, 60% ethanol remaining distilled water. So they increase the solubility of volatile substances. So you are able to prepare say tinctures, spirits, etc. So this is co-solvency. Similarly, they say that hydrotropic may be another type of co-solvency, means as in co-solvency, what happens when ethanol comes in water, hydrogen bonding, van der Waals forces, whatever they are used, they increase the solubility. Similarly, in case of hydrotropic also, the same mechanism may be there because of coming up. But once you know that each and everything has got solvent character, so solids also have got solvent character, so they increase the solubility. Okay, so anyway, some scientists they say it is another type of co-solvency. Some say that it may be due to means solubility enhancement may be due to formation of complexes like that. Some say that it may be due to planar aggregate formation. Planar aggregate just like micellar solubilization, they form the spherical aggregate. In this case, hydrotropic solubilization, like a parallel aggregates are formed, which are responsible for the solubility enhancement. Some say that it may be due to change in solvent character. This water, if you compare water with 40% suppose sodium ion, their character is there. And in last they say that till now there is no definite mechanism of hydrotropic solubilization. But I tell you the definite mechanism is that since each and everything has got solvent character, solids also have got solvent character. So there is no need of explanation of all these things. Each and everything has got solvent character. You see, how can I correlate it with hydrotropy? You see, listen me. Suppose you prepare 30% urea solution in distilled water. You see the solubility of paracetamol in this. Okay? Yeah, diclofenac sodium. Suppose diclofenac sodium that is improved. There is more solubility of diclofenac sodium in 30% urea solution than in water because of urea. And here we say that this is hydrotropic solubilization. Now I tell you, what I did is, I melted urea, so I got a clear colorless melt at 132 degrees centigrade. That is the melting point of urea, 132 degrees centigrade. In that melted urea, I added diclofenac sodium pinch that goes in solution. Again, it goes in solution. This means melted urea is solvent for that. Okay? And why I am saying this melting point is 132 and here it is 283. Diclofenac sodium has got melting point of 283. This is 132. So there is no melting of diclofenac sodium. It goes in solution. Okay. So and now I can correlate it with co-solvency. How? Now you see. Suppose you have to prepare 30% urea solution in distilled water. You can prepare in two ways. Number one, you take 30 gram of urea crystals you add sufficient distilled water, you dissolve it and make up to 100 ml, you get 30% weight by volume solution of urea. 30 gram urea crystals up to 100 ml solution. One way is there. Another way, you take in a beaker 30 gram of urea, you heat it, you melt it. You will get a clear colorless liquid at 132 degrees centigrade. Then you think it that as if it is a solvent, and if then you add distilled water sufficiently to make up 100 ml, and of course after cooling it at room temperature also you can make. So what you can assume is you are adding a co-solvent in your water. Just like ethanol comes in water that gives solvency enhancement, your melted urea, suppose you have melted, though you have not melted in previous, but you think in this way, that you have melted it, so that has become a co-solvent for this, and you are now mixing with water. Either you mix this in water or this in water, and make up volume of 200. So just it is type of co-solvent. Okay, so anyway, so now so hydrotrophic solvent, the mechanism is clear that each and everything has got solvent character. I don't know, actually you see 100 years back, if the scientists they were knowing that solids also have got solvent character, the hydrotrophic word could not have come, I think so, because what they thought, I think in this way, that suppose some solid goes in solution, suppose sodium benzoate, whatever they have taken earlier, that goes in solution, some solvent is enhanced for some drug. They have thought that some new thing has been there, because solids, they never think that it might have got solubilizing power or solvent character. So they gave a new name, hydrotrophic solubilization. I don't know whether it is so or not, but I think it is so. It may be like that. So in this way the hydrotrophic word has come. Of course, solubility will be increased. Whether hydrotrophic word is there or not, solubility is increased because heat and everything, they have got solvent character. Okay. Anyway, now after coming to this hydrotrophic solubilization, till this time we will say it is hydrotrophic solubilization, and we will wait for some new thing afterwards. But till now we have to use the word hydrotrophic solubilization. Now you see how can it be applied in estimations, etc. Now you see these are the few examples of hydrotrophic solubilization. This is ibuprofen distilled water, solubility is very less. But if you take 2 molar sodium benzoate, 2 molar sodium benzoate means 28.8% sodium benzoate aqueous solution. Here the solubility is this much, which is about 85 times enhancement in solubility. Similarly, if you see the ibuprofen, this is in 2 molar solubility. So these are this is sodium acetate, aspirin solubility, like this. This is sodium citrate, like this. So these are few examples. I will send this list to you also. If you see, give me in the after lunch, you please give your email IDs. I will send this all matter to you, and of course more matter I can send it to you. Okay. Now these are again the examples here for hydrotrophic solubilization. Now how can we apply it? And of course this is the list I have shown for class 2 organic solvent and class 3, just to keep it in our mind that how can we utilize this hydrotrophic solubilization or mixed solvency concept in eco-friendly methods development. Like, so you see just these are safer organic solvent, ethanol, acetone, these are relatively safe organic solvent. These are relatively toxic organic solvent, class 2 solvent, they are relatively toxic. Now our aim should be, now after knowing all these things, we should utilize these types of class 3 organic solvents. We should make them strong solvent by proper choice of solubilizers, then they should be used. So we will discourage the use of class 2 organic solvent. Okay, and in so many fields you can use them. Don't think only for self-emulsifying drug. I have used for them for multiple emulsions also development, means for drug loading improvement and all that. Then topical, use a transdermal. I have made the solid dispersions using this concept. This I will tell you later on in the after lunch. Now here, now some examples of estimations using hydrotrophic solution. Now see the method of IP or BP includes the for bulk drug sample of ibuprofen, that you weigh accurately this much gram of bulk drug of ibuprofen, dissolve in 100 ml of ethanol. Okay, after dissolution you will use NaOH solution for its titration. Okay, of course, blankering, all those things are done. So using this equivalent, the estimation is done. So this is IPBP method where class 3 organic solvent ethanol is being employed. Now you see in hydrotrophic solubilization, what can we do? In sodium benzoate solution, hydrotrophic solution of sodium benzoate. So what can you do? You take again 0.4 gram of bulk drug of ibuprofen, dissolve it in 100 ml of 2 molar sodium benzoate solution, aqueous solution of sodium benzoate 28.8%. Suppose 30% for it, okay? You have, because of hydrotrophic solubilization, it has gone in solution. Now titrate with 0.1 molar sodium hydroxide using phenolphthalein solution as indicator. Okay, whatever the volume comes, you note it down. Then a blank run is done. I have not written here in this, but it is done. Means again you will take 100 ml of 2 molar sodium benzoate aqueous solution. Then you will perform the titration. So 1 ml, half ml, whatever it comes, they will be subtracted from the original volume, previous volume. Okay. So in this way you are able to perform the estimations without any interference. Okay. So what we have done is, this is eco-friendly. Why it is eco-friendly method? Because you have replaced ethanol. It is an organic solvent, and here it is aqueous solution of sodium benzoate. Okay, so this is eco-friendly method. What I was saying is here, you see, this also proves that solids have got solvent character. Sodium benzoate solution is acting as solvent. That's why it has dissolved also, and there was no interference of sodium benzoate. If you are getting correct estimation, what does it mean? It means you are utilizing them as solvent. Sodium benzoate solution as solvent in place of ethanol. You are using. Okay. Now another example. Now for ibuprofen tablet, IPBP method says to use chloroform and ethanol like this. Weigh and powder 20 tablets of ibuprofen. Okay. Or now you weigh the powder equivalent to 0.5 gram of ibuprofen. Now you have taken the tablet powder containing 0.5 gram of ibuprofen. Now it is extracted, actually 3 times it is extracted with chloroform. Details you will see from the pharmacopoeia. Okay, so chloroform is used to extract the drug from the tablet powder, because chloroform is good solvent for ibuprofen. Okay, and then evaporation of chloroform is done in air current. So wherever the work is going on, the chloroform will go in your body also. Of course, means this is the drawback of this. And chloroform is class 2 organic solvent, toxic organic solvent. Now, after removal of chloroform, you will get a semi-solid residue which will be dissolved in 100 ml of ethanol. This is another solvent which is being used, class 3 organic solvent. Ethanol is also a good solvent for ibuprofen. Okay, after this dissolution, phenolphthalein is added and titration is done with NaOH solution. So this is the method for BP and IP method. Okay, where the 2 organic solvents are being used. One is class 2 and one is class 3. Now, in hydrotrophic solubilization method, you see, you will take the tablet powder equivalent to 0.5 gram of drug, shake briskly for 10 minutes with 100 ml of 2 molar sodium benzoate solution. So in this way, what will happen? After 10 minutes shaking, the ibuprofen from the tablet powder will go in your solution because of hydrotrophic solubilization. Okay, then use 0.1 normal NaOH after adding phenolphthalein. Okay, so whatever the volume has come, you have noted. Now another blank run you have to do. Again, you will take 100 ml of this 2 molar sodium solution, and then you add phenolphthalein and titrate. So 1 ml or half ml, whatever it comes, then you will have to subtract from the original. So in this way, what you have done? You have removed 2 solvents, chloroform and ethanol. Means without the use of organic solvent, you are able to carry out the titematic analysis of ibuprofen tablet. Again, the same. There should be no interaction or no interference of sodium benzoate. That's why you are able to perform the titration. This also says that there is no interference of sodium benzoate. They are acting as solvent or solubilizer, जो भी अपन कहना है. Okay, so in this way, now a large number of drugs have been estimated by hydrotrophic solubilization. This is a new one. 100 years have gone for this hydrotropy, but no one has used this in this in this field. This I have started this titanimetric analysis, spectrophotometric analysis, etc. These all I have started. So now you see one more example here. Furosemide bulk drug. If you remember, I have discussed previously. In IPBP method, it is dissolved in DMF. Why it is dissolved in DMF? I told you that in water it is highly insoluble, in ethanol it is sparingly soluble. That's why DMF was used. A class 2 organic solvent was used to solubilize the bulk drug of furosemide. Then NaOH was used for titration. Then in that case, I told you that ethanol was made a strong soluble by 15% niacinamide. Then that was used for its estimation. Now still better estimation method is this one, hydrotropic solubilization method. What do you do? The bulk drug of furosemide is dissolved in 2 molar sodium benzoate solution because of hydrotropic solubilization, and indicator you add, and NaOH is used for titration. So just by hydrotropic solubilization you are able to perform the estimation. Now again means the blank run is done there. So in this way a class 2 organic solvent DMF has been replaced by sodium benzoate solution. There is no interference. That means sodium benzoate solution has acted as solvent for furosemide. That's why there is no interference. You see, we dissolve something in water, citric acid. We perform NaOH, so water does not interfere. You dissolve something in methanol or ethanol, you perform the estimation. Methanol or ethanol do not interfere. That's why you are able to find out 100% results. DMF is not going to interfere in this estimation. That's why you are doing it. Similarly, sodium benzoate solution, it is not interfering in your estimation. That's why you are doing it like this. So in this way, it is being used as solvent. If you have any question, please ask. Now these are this PPT also I will send you. Means aspirin bulk drug has been estimated using this sodium benzoate aqueous solution, sodium acetate, sodium citrate, sodium salicylate, niacinamide. Even ibuprofen sodium was used for its estimation. Ibuprofen, though it is a drug, I made it's a sodium ibuprofen. It is a very good hydrotropic agent. Ibuprofen is not so much costlier, but anyway, I have employed it for the estimation of aspirin. Aspirin tablet, metformin hydrochloride, this is also a drug, but this has been increased. This has been used as hydrotropic agent for estimation. Metformin hydrochloride is also cheaper drug, 150 rupees a kg nearly. This one. So anyway, now you will see a large number of estimations that will perform in titanimetric analysis. Now after this I will come to spectrophotometric analysis. Now you see, in spectrophotometric analysis, first you see this example of tindazole tablets. In IP method, methanol is used. A class 2 organic solvent is employed for its estimation. Tablet powder equivalent to this much quantity of tindazole. It is shaken with methanol because methanol is good solvent for tindazole. So methanol solubilize the tindazole, and then volume is made up to 100 ml with methanol again. Then to remove the tablet, excipient filtration is done. Then 1 ml of filtrate is diluted up to 100 ml with methanol. Okay, so and then the absorbance is noted at 310 nm. So in this way you are going to use methanol in IPBP method. But this can be done by hydrotropic method also. Take say tablet powder equivalent to 50 mg of tindazole, shake for 10 minutes briskly with 20 ml of 2 molar sodium benzoate aqueous solution. Okay. So because of hydrotropic solubilization, tindazole from tablet powder will come in the solution. Then further dilution not by sodium benzoate, by distilled water. Up to 25 ml you will have to use distilled water to remove tablet excipient, filtration. Then 1 ml of the filtrate diluted up to 100 ml with distilled water. And then one more thing, you have to make reagent blend, and then you will have to observe the absorbance. How you will make the reagent blend, I am telling you. Suppose you take only 20 ml of 2 molar sodium benzoate solution in a 25 ml volumetric flask, dilute up to 25 ml with distilled water. Here drug is not there. Then 1 ml diluted up to 100 ml will give the reagent blend for this. Well, all of you know this. Okay, so in this way here is the sample or here is the reagent blank. You are taking the absorbance at 318 nm. Now here there is change in lambda max. Why it is changed? Because that was previously it was methanol solvent. Here the solvent is water. It's water aqueous system is there. Okay, now to find out this means the drug concentration of unknown sample, you will have to make the calibration curve. So in calibration curve, what you can take? You can take 50 milligram of standard drug tindazole, okay, dissolve it in 20 ml of 2 molar sodium benzoate solution. After clear solution, dilute up to 25 ml with distilled water. Then filtration may be done if needed. Then 1 ml dilute up to 10 ml will give you the, now you see here, up to this time, if you are dissolving 50 milligram in 25 ml, means this is 2000 μg per ml solution. In 2000 mg per ml solution, you are diluting up to 100 ml, means 100 times dilution, so it gives 20 mg per ml solution. So this is one of the solution, standard solution. And it's a reagent blank, you have made just by 3 like that. Okay. Now from this standard solution, sorry, here it was 2000 ml per ml. From that you will make for 5, 10, 15 to like that. And the respective reagent blank also you will have to make. And by keeping those, you will observe the absorbance at 318 nm. So you will get a calibration curve that can be utilized to find out the concentration of tindazole. So in this way, what you have done is, this is again a eco-friendly method. You have discouraged the use of methanol. Methanol is a class 2 organic solvent. You have applied. So in this way, eco-friendly method has been developed like this. Any question if you have, please ask. Now one question comes here. Why sodium benzoate does not interfere in your estimation? Okay. Now see, when your drug is tindazole is say 20 mg per ml, sodium benzoate will be much higher in concentration because you take the concentrated solution of sodium benzoate for its extraction from the tablet powder. So you have to make a strong solution of sodium benzoate to see its absorbance behavior. So suppose you prepare 2000 mg per ml of aqueous solution of sodium benzoate. Please listen it carefully. 2000 mg per ml solution of sodium benzoate you are preparing in distilled water, okay, to see its absorbance behavior. That you have kept in sample cuvette, and here is distilled water. Now if you make you scan it, so you see from your side here. Now this is say, suppose 200 and this is 400, okay. So what we are observing is scanning of this 2000 mg per ml solution of sodium benzoate. So you see the end of the absorbance comes to at about 290 nm. Above 290 nm it is nearly zero, absorbance is nearly zero for sodium benzoate. That's why in my research papers I told that above 300 nm, if your drug peak is there just like 318, that's above 300, so you are able to perform the estimations without interference of sodium benzoate. Similarly, if you use nationwide for estimation, nationwide also above 300 it is clear, means there is no interference. In case of urea, sodium citrate and sodium acetate, if you make again you scan their 2000 ml per ml solution against distilled water, you get curve like this. They end at about 240 nm. Okay, means above 245 nm, urea, sodium citrate, sodium acetate can be employed without any interference. Wherever they increase the, for example, urea increase the solubility of diclofenac sodium. So diclofenac sodium estimation is done at 273 nm or 276 nm. That can be done with the use of urea because above 245. So like this. So many estimations have been done. Then now you see these are the examples of some of the drugs which have been estimated by hydrotrophic sulfurization using spectrophotometric method. Of course, sometimes the blends were used. This I will tell you later on after the lunch period is. After lunch I will explain you these things. But anyway, in short, you see so many drugs have been estimated without the use of organic solvent spectrophotometrically. Now see a large number of drugs. Now 2 minutes for TLC. Now you see here. I thought when the solubility can be improved by hydrotrophic solubilization, can the hydrotrophic solutions be used as mobile phase for TLC? So I worked for 2-3 drugs. I got that of course there is a definite RF value comes there. So I gave this work to a team of 2 teachers at Ujjain, Mahakal Institute of Pharmacy at Ujjain. I gave 5 drugs. I told them to use 2 molar sodium benzoate solution alone and 5 molar urea solution alone as mobile phase, and you compare with the IP methods. Now you see one example. Atenolol, in case of this IP method. In IP method, of course, methanol is used. Organic solvent are always used in pharmacopoeia method. But in proposed method of urea, 5 molar urea, when it was used, the RF value was 0.67. Here it was 0.67. Anyway, means this is a definite RF value is coming here. In case of atenolol, when 2 molar, I told to use 2 molar sodium benzoate. Means they did not find any spot. So the phone came to me that, sir, so many times I have repeated, but there is no spot. I thought that solubility might have been improved to such an extent that the drug might have gone to the top. Okay, so I told them to use 1 molar. So when 1 molar sodium benzoate was used, there was spot given like this. Now here, similarly you see the diclofenac sodium, here the organic solvents are used, but in our method of hydrotrophy, there is no hydrotropic, no organic solvent is there. Now similarly in case of paracetamol, 1 molar, even 1 molar sodium benzoate did not give spot. I told them to use 0.5 molar, so again in this way what actually you can do it, if you want to increase the RF value, you improve the solvent character by more concentration of hydrotrophic. If you want to reduce it, you reduce the concentration of hydrotrophic agent. So the hydrotrophic solubilization can be, solutions can be used in TLC also. Since they are being used for TLC, what you can do is you can even, they can be applied for HPLC also, but there is limitation. You see, what is limitation? The column should not be choked by the higher concentration of hydrotropic agent. So only those, in those cases you can use an HPLC where the solubility is tremendously enlarged. Say for example, Cefixime solubility in distilled water is about 0.1%. 0.1% in distilled water, Cefixime. But when you use say 45% sodium acetate solution, the solubility is more than 20% are like that. So okay, more than 20%. We say tremendous enlargement in solubility. So a small concentration of sodium acetate, say 4% suppose, can be used for HPLC. Though of course there is no such paper till now on the HPLC, but work has been done, but paper could not be published. So even if you want to do this work, use sodium 4% sodium acetate, there will be no harm to your column and you can apply it. Actually, you see, I am a pharmaceutics person. I do not even say I am not involved in HPLC, or you may say I am involved in some other things. So I do not take say interest so much for doing all these things. But I have done it. I got it done. Okay, and you can do it, and you can publish the research paper. And if you publish the research paper, you put my name also in the last. Please, है ना? हमने आपको बता दिया drug I have told you and the hydrotropic agent I have told you. चलिए अभी इसको यहाँ पर रोक दिया जाए क्या? है ना? फिर अपन बाद में डिस्कस करना. Please, okay, thank you.